My name is Michael, and this is going to be my week 4 presentation for my Spch 275 class. The presentation is actually going to be on how to be a competitive Pokemon battler, and I'm going to teach you how you can do that. Alright, so be patient and stand by. The community of competitive Pokemon players is expanding every day, and honestly, there's so many different personalities. We can experience different battles and different styles of gameplay with all the people that are enjoying this game. Now, the awesome thing about it is this game of Pokemon has aspects of chess and just fighting all in one game. So it's pretty, it gets you a pretty good feeling of play style. I personally have been playing Pokemon since like 1996, 1997, right around there. I've actually gotten the competitive scene about 7 years ago, right before I first joined the military, and in there we have a bunch of people that always like playing, and I love being able to get around that environment and always having somebody to play with. You know, it's a whole community, and it's great, and I always do enjoy it, and I do enjoy meeting new people who do play it. So if you do play, let me know, and we could probably get an online battle going. What we can do for the competitive world of Pokemon is just keep growing, keep bringing people into it. It's not expensive, but it is fun, and it kind of is time consuming, but it feels worth it once you invest your time into it. What you need to know is how to train your Pokemon, which ones to use, what your specific playstyle is, and what are common playstyles so you can counterbalance that. First off, you have to know what the information in the Pokemon's stat breakdown is. So if you go in there and you see all this stuff saying attack, defense, you're not going to know what's going on. So the whole game revolves around creatures called Pokemon. Just in case if you don't even know what it is. They're your partners and your teammates, and the goal is to challenge other trainers and battling them to see who is the strongest. You know, the world champions, people get to travel. If you're pretty good, for the most part, Nintendo and other people sponsor you, so you end up going to different areas for absolutely free. And there's a whole community with thousands, hundreds of thousands of people playing. So there's always room for a couple more. Every Pokemon has 6 stats: hit points, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and lastly speed. Now, each Pokemon has their pros and cons with each stat. You're not going to have one guy that's just all 6 stats, just bam. Maybe you have like 2, and one is called Arceus, the creator of all Pokemon, and you have the other one, which is Mew. It's supposed to be the first Pokemon. So, kind of makes sense the god of all Pokemon would be, the one that's kind of broken. But with that, the attack is specifically for physical moves, like Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch. So anything that usually is direct contact, that has to do with the attack. The higher attack is, the more damage you put out for attacks. While having a higher defense lets you block those physical attacks. Like I just previously stated, Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch. That's what I personally like using for an explanation of direct attacks. Now, a higher defense means you can block it better. You could take that hit better. While as special attack is more predominantly for kind of things that shoot out. So Flamethrower instead of Fire Punch, Ice Beam instead of Ice Punch, and Thunderbolt. All stuff that kind of just boom. And that's usually incumbent on special type attacks. There's certain ones that are a rarity, but we're not going to get into that. We're going to go into simple understanding of the basics. And the higher special defense you have gives you a chance to kind of undermine that, and you can block it and whatnot. With that, you can actually have higher hit points, which lets you be able to soak up more stuff. So you might not have the strongest defense or special defense, but enough hit points, and you'll be able to take all these specific hits. With that, you can actually have natures for each of your Pokemon. Natures give a 10% boost in a specific stat, or a 10% decrease in a specific stat. And there are 4 natures that are neutral, so they don't do an increase or decrease. So in case you just want to play it like mid-range, but it is always preferred to get a stat that has a pro and con. With that, there's also abilities. Abilities give boosts as well. There's abilities called Huge Power, which doubles your base attack. So that's pretty awesome. And there's moves that can have you switch abilities. So I mean, you can get a great ability on a great Pokemon, and all of a sudden they're just boom bombs. Typical ones would be Pikachu has static. If you hit me and make physical contact with me, you have a chance of becoming paralyzed. Awesome. So it's easy stuff to grasp when it comes to abilities and natures. Now, there's 18 different types in the whole Pokemon universe. Now, with that, there is 171 different variations of the typing combining together, or individual typings. Now, that's a lot. That's a lot of typings you want to learn, but you really don't have to. The easiest thing to do is remember the common trends. Skarmory is Steel and Flying. Charizard is Fire and Flying. Groudon is Ground. When he transforms into his primal version, he's Ground and Fire. Now, it's awesome. It's great. It's something you should always have in your back of your mind what the typing are. Now, how do you like or want to learn how to play with these teammates? When you have these teammates, they all have their pros and cons. So you want to know what your play style is, how you would prefer to play. Me personally, I like stall-oriented game sets. So I like to make my Pokemon have naturally high hit points, and then just naturally raise or use moves to raise up their defense and special defense, and then poison them, burn them, or paralyze them, and just watch the damages go. Because when they're poisoned, they're dying, and they can't stop it. And that's how I prefer to play. There's always all these different things you could do. The faster Pokemon you have, the more well-rounded. Now you can hit the fastest Pokemon on the field. It doesn't matter if you're super fast, if you have the highest defensive stat. At the same time, you know, it's give and take. It's give and take in all these things. So now, one of the coolest things that I feel is important, and we're going to be wrapping up this video very shortly, is the actual Pokemon themselves. The first step is catching, training, or involving the team itself and trying to gather them together. I'm actually listing 2 sites that you can choose. Similar sites, different producers. If you like a certain format of how they set it up in one and not the other, by all means, feel free to check it out. They will show you the location, what the rarity of getting that Pokemon is, percentage-wise chance, as well as how their level up growth is. So they could be a fast leveler and they gain experience points extremely quick, or they could be a slow one and it's going to take you your whole day just to get them to evolve. And believe you me, some days it feels worth it once you finish that 4-hour long journey through catching these. Common play styles are actually more aggressive, so we consider them metas. That's just a term we use in the meta game. And typical meta teams involve faster, stronger, sweeping teams where they hit first and they hit hard, and if you manage to survive the hit and you can kill him, he's going to bring in another person that's fast and strong and hard. And trying to stall out is typically anti-meta game sets, and that's what I prefer. So I love using classic Pokemon like Generation 1 Pokemon like Rapidash, Muck. I do like certain ones from the new generations, but they just seem a little either overpowered or underpowered, depending on where they come from. And in this game environment, the actual worlds this year of 2017, the world champions, The top 8 finalists actually had it was 1 or 2 of these creatures, these Pokemons called Tapus. There's 4 of them you could choose from, really, really strong, and they are having either 1 or 2 to have the overall team. They set out a terrain field, so they get boosts. Another thing that we're using is Ultra Beasts. They're a new thing that came out, and basically Ultra Beasts have 2 stats that are obnoxiously high, and you just, they hit hard. They either hit hard, hit fast, hit hard, and can take hard hits. And the most common one is called Celesteela. It's a steel and flying type. Great typing for coverage. Great typing for resistances. And it is just a monster. Super slow. Super tanky all around. And he just hits hard too. And he's great Pokemon to use. People are typically using 1 to 4 of those. So you can have up to 4. And there's quite a few of the Ultra Beasts, and people are just running them like crazy because they're just overpowered. You can actually run up to 2 legendary Pokemon. Now, there's a issue with legendaries. So there's regular legendary Pokemon, which would be Mewtwo. There would be Ho-Oh and Lugia, and the legendary dogs, also called Raikou, Suicune, and Entei. Now, they are acceptable. But then there's a different category of legendaries called mythical Pokemon. Those are all banned. Mew, Celebi, Jirachi. Ooh. Maybe, I don't know the Pokemon. Oh, Darkrai. Darkrai is completely and utterly banned, even though they nerfed him. So nerfing is basically, they basically wrapped him in nerf-style stuff. They made him really weak. And those mythical Pokemon are typically banned because they are overpowered in all sorts of aspects. So they're typically banned. But at the end of the day, you can also take 1 Mega Pokemon, which is a Pokemon that holds an item, and for the duration of the battle, they can evolve into a stronger form of themselves. So you have Charizard, he has 2 different forms, Mewtwo has 2 different forms, and they evolve into a further form with increased stats, power, and just looks, and they look cool. Personally, I think they look cool. You know, if you're in a football and you hate video games, then you're probably not going to like this game, honestly. But if you like games and you like the complex puzzles and stuff, this is probably it. Lastly, you can actually have 1 Z move, which is a new mechanic into the gaming systems, which you give a Z item of the specific typing to the Pokemon that has a move of that type. So Flamethrower, obviously, you give it a fire item. It's called the Firium Z. And with that, when they go to use their Z move, which can only be used once in a match for the whole duel, that means you can't ever use it again once you use it. It'll make it like a super powerful attack. So it'll take a regular Flamethrower and turn it into a move called Inferno Overdrive, and it just wrecks house. You have this crazy high-powered attack. Just one time, though. But it's super, I can use this and change the whole tide of the battle type of thing. Now, with that, that's pretty much all you need to know. Honestly, a couple of the things that you want to remember are to keep a well-balanced team to match your Pokemon's weaknesses. So in case you're weak to one thing, you don't want to be too unbalanced. If you have all water, you know, electricity would come in and wreck you. If you're nothing but fast Pokemon that have no defense in there, the moment you get somebody super slow that can just stall you out, you're losing. And constant development of your playstyle and your mindset is going to lead you down the path of victory and become a future champion. If you wish to get involved in any of this further, please feel free to contact me or contact your local neighborhood nerd shop. Trust me, there's always going to be a nerd shop somewhere in your town, and there's always going to be Pokemon tournaments. So if you feel like you want to get involved in this, by all means. There's going to be 3 links below in the YouTube video. One is going to be the Pokemon Showdown. It's going to give you a chance to try out different teams before you spend all your time making them. It's going to give you a chance to try out mock battles and do random battles, so that way you can try out Pokemon that you've never seen before. Love the site. Use it 6 to 12 times a day. 6 to 12 times a day. Then you have Cerebi.net, which is a Pokemon information site. It has everything to do about Pokemon. Bulbapedia, it's an off-branch of Wikipedia, but for Pokemon, and in there it's similar things, but some people prefer the formatting and layout design of Bulbapedia rather than Cerebi. Thank you and have a wonderful day.